the Finger Lakes, a region of New York State that's been shaped by both the forces of nature and the choices of people. And there's more to this place than just wineries. There's a lot of important American history that's happened here. But before we get into it, let's start with the waters themselves. There's 11 Finger Lakes in total: Canisius, Hemlock, Canadice, Honeoye, Canandaigua, Keuka, Seneca, Cayuga, Owasco, Skaneateles, and Otisco. Together, they make up the heart of this region. And in this video, I'm going to try and cover the full story. The Finger Lakes were formed during the last ice age, when enormous glaciers spread across New York State, reshaping the terrain. These gigantic ice sheets carved deep valleys and trenches as they advanced and retreated over thousands of years. When the glaciers finally melted roughly 12,000 years ago, they left behind 11 long, narrow lakes that look like fingers on a map. Early Paleo-Indians moved into the area, hunting and following game across the newly exposed land. Over time, various indigenous cultures developed in the region. Eventually, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy was formed, a structured native alliance of 5 nations. The Seneca and Cayuga nations centered on the 2 largest Finger Lakes, with the Onondaga Nation controlling some of the eastern lakes. They recognized the lakes' long, narrow shapes, describing them in stories and legend. In my research, I couldn't verify whether or not the Haudenosaunee actually referred to the lakes as fingers, but the term was eventually adopted officially in the 1800s. Anyway, among these lakes, important settlements arose, such as Chonodoti, a Cayuga community close to present-day Aurora. In the 1600s, French missionaries and explorers came to the area, seeking to interact with the local tribes. As the French expanded their presence, conflicts emerged, culminating in a major Seneca village near present-day Victor being destroyed. It wasn't long before Albany County was created by the British colonial government. It encompassed much of present-day upstate New York, including the Finger Lakes region. During the Revolutionary War, the Cayuga and Seneca allied with the British, as did most of the Haudenosaunee nations. The Finger Lakes was frontier country during this time, and conflict involved raids and counter-raids between patriots supporting independence and loyalists supporting Great Britain. A major response to this came in 1779, when Patriot forces launched the Sullivan Expedition, a devastating campaign that destroyed villages and crops throughout the Finger Lakes. It targeted Haudenosaunee strongholds to eliminate their ability to support British forces. After the Revolution, the Haudenosaunee who allied with Great Britain very quickly lost control of their ancestral lands. The 1794 Treaty of Canandaigua guaranteed some areas in the Finger Lakes region, though protection was often weak. By that time, early European settlers had already begun arriving, setting up towns and cultivating farmland near the lakes. A large land sale, known as the Phelps and Gorham Purchase, opened millions of acres of western New York to development, including much of the Finger Lakes area. Small communities around rivers and mills eventually became Geneva, Auburn, Ithaca, Canandaigua, and Watkins Glen. As these settlements grew, the need for reliable east-west routes increased. An old Native American trail was expanded into the Great Genesee Road and further upgraded into the Seneca Turnpike by the early 1800s. A bunch of counties were being organized during this time, and settlements continued to develop, like Penn Yan, a hub for trade and mills, and Dresden, established as a planned community. The Erie Canal, completed in 1825, passed just north of the lakes and helped turn the region into a booming trade and travel corridor. Supplementary canals made trade more efficient across the Finger Lakes. The Cayuga-Seneca Canal linked Seneca and Cayuga lakes to the Erie Canal. The Crooked Lake Canal connected to Keuka Lake. And the Chemung Canal extended to Elmira. With goods and people moving more easily, agriculture expanded, and in 1829, Hammondsport saw the region's first vineyard planted by Reverend William Bostwick. The region also became a critical route on the Underground Railroad, with communities such as Skaneateles and Naples offering shelter to freedom seekers. Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and William Seward were active in the area, advocating for abolition and guiding efforts to help enslaved people escape. Harriet Tubman eventually settled in Auburn, where she lived for decades, and now her home is a museum. Above-ground railroads spread across the region, further linking settlements to cities like Rochester and Syracuse. There was also steamboats, with vessels carrying people and goods to towns like Union Springs and Branchport. Meanwhile, over in Seneca Falls, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott led the 1848 Women's Rights Convention, sparking nationwide change. And speaking of this, the next year, Elizabeth Blackwell graduated from Geneva Medical College, becoming America's first female doctor. As the region gained attention, tourism grew quickly, with resorts, cottages, and hotels appearing along the Finger Lakes shorelines. Hammondsport saw the founding of the Pleasant Valley Wine Company, establishing the first officially licensed American winery under federal law. Then you have the Civil War, with Union soldiers traveling from Geneva to Elmira and beyond, while Elmira also contained a well-known POW camp. After the Civil War, many places across the country held ceremonies honoring fallen soldiers, with multiple towns claiming to have started Memorial Day. However, in 1966, Waterloo received official recognition from the U.S. government as the starting point of Memorial Day. So, you can't argue with that. All controversy aside, during the post-war era, one of America's earliest sparkling wines was being enjoyed in the Finger Lakes region, and the area was also becoming a hub for higher education, as Hobart College educated students in Geneva, while Elmira College, Cornell University, and Ithaca College brought new academic opportunities. Also, shout out to SUNY Geneseo, where I got my history teaching degree, an institution that started as a training school for educators in 1871. Around this time, industrialization was accelerating, and Auburn Prison became historic with the first ever execution by electric chair. Later, the assassin of President William McKinley would meet the same fate here. The early 1900s brought new waves of visitors, as agriculture, vineyards, and small industries continued to shape the region. Into this landscape stepped Glenn Curtis, whose experiments in Hammondsport and Keuka Lake helped launch America into the age of flight. By the 1920s, Finger Lakes life included salt mining, trolley routes moving people and goods, and the new Route 5 highway cutting across upstate New York. When Prohibition hit, wineries closed or adapted with alternative products. However, the tradition of winemaking rebounded in the years that followed. During World War II, the region supported the war effort, notably through the Sampson Naval Training Station on Seneca Lake, which trained hundreds of thousands of sailors. After World War II, Watkins Glen gained fame for auto racing, hosting its first sports car race in 1948. Soon, I-90 cut across the state, making the Finger Lakes more accessible and further supporting the growth of towns, farms, and wineries. This growing accessibility helped Finger Lakes winemaking flourish, building on French winemaker Charles Fournier's innovations, alongside Dr. Constantine Frank's successful work with European grape varieties. In acknowledgement of these achievements and more, the government designated the Finger Lakes as a recognized American wine region in 1982. The following year, the Cayuga Lake Wine Trail opened, marking America's first organized wine trail. This increased visibility contributed to the region welcoming millions annually by the 21st century, enjoying its lakes, parks, and local culture. And that about brings us to right now. The Finger Lakes continue to be a hub for wine, colleges, outdoor adventures, and innovative industries. Over 100 wineries and numerous state parks keep both tourism and agriculture thriving. The region remains a mix of innovation, recreation, and heritage that continues to draw people from all around. So, with that, let's raise a glass to the Finger Lakes. Have a good one.